Everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Good afternoon. Um, I'm Abby Lynch, librarian two with the Connecticut State Library Division of Library Development, and I'm excited to welcome you to our Connecticut Summer Story Project finale, Author versus Illustrator, with Donald Lemke and Bob Lentz. We want to acknowledge with thanks that DLD's work is funded by the state of Connecticut and the Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act administered by the Connecticut State Library. And a big thank you also to our Summer Story Project partners, CT Humanities and CT Center for the Book and Capstone, with special thanks today to Capstone for sponsoring this author event and other summer projects. And a shout out to any of our story project authors in the room or watching on the recording. A few housekeeping things before I turn it over to our speakers. Zoom offers a live captioning feature, so please feel free to use and adjust that as needed. We would also appreciate if you changed your name to at least your first name and last initial so we can take attendance if you have your library name as your Zoom name. The recording of today's event will be made available on the DLD YouTube channel. We'll be dropping relevant links in the chat as we move through today's session, and we would encourage you to ask questions in the chat along with your insights, comments, and conversations. And as Cam reminded me, you can use your reactions as well. Claps, thumbs ups, hearts, we love that. So we'll do questions at the end, so feel free to drop those in the chat throughout. We'll be following up with you after this session with a brief survey, so please take a moment and share your feedback. Help us help you. And now to introduce our speakers. Lemke and Lentz are two dads on a mission to power imagination, play, and belly laughter without a single battery. Donald Lemke is an award-winning writer of comics and books for young readers. He lives in St. Paul, Minnesota with his amazing wife, Amy, and their three growing up way too fast daughters. Bob Lentz is an art director, designer, and illustrator of many books for kids. Bob lives in Bloomington, Minnesota with his wife, Rosalie, and their two children, and a very hungry Boston Terrier. All right, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll let Donnie start with the introduction, and then I'll take it from there. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm Donnie Lemke, and yeah, this is a little bit about how we made the book Author versus Illustrator. So we're gonna start with a little intro to our partnership, and then read the book, and then kind of have some behind the scenes at the end.
Yep, and then we'll follow up with any Q&A you have after the presentation. My name is Bob Lentz. I'm the illustrator of Author versus Illustrator. So happy to be here. Hello, Connecticut from Minnesota. As the intro mentioned, Donnie's from St. Paul. I'm from Bloomington, so both Twin Cityans. And yeah, we're just really happy to be here. So thanks for having us. And yeah, we'll just kick it off. I think before we read the story, there's a little bit of a lead into like how this story came about, and it kind of has to do with our journey through kind of a career in literacy. So with that, I want to start by talking about partnerships. So when we give this presentation to children, we always talk about famous partnerships within pop culture. So take Batman and Robin, for instance. They're a crime fighting duo, right? How about these two, Donnie?
Yeah, those are probably a little more like us, the Scooby and Shaggy.
Yep, Scooby and Shaggy, they're detectives also, crime solvers, but also they're big foodies, which Donnie and I both are, and you'll see that in the story as we read that. Take Han Solo and Chewbacca, they're co-pilots, right? Another famous partnership. Donnie, you have three daughters, so you can
Yeah,
speak to
it's
this
Elsa and
one.
Anna. These are a favorite around my household with three daughters.
Yeah. So they rule a kingdom together, but they're also sisters, so it's kind of a partnership, right? Sometimes when they're not fighting. This is my favorite, coworkers don't always get along, but they have to work together to, make something. So SpongeBob and Squidward obviously aren't the best of friends, but they have to work together to serve their customers at the Krabby Patty, right? But this duo, I think, is the most applicable to Donnie and I. all of you librarians, and of course, your readers will recognize George and Harold as the creators of Captain Underpants and, of course, Dog Man. And so, of course, George is an author like Donnie, and Harold is an illustrator like myself. And so, um, they're very relatable to us for sure. And so this is Donnie and I as children, probably George and Harold's age, maybe a little younger. But as you can see, even back, in the early 80s, we were sporting our superhero shirts, and we're definitely on a trajectory into
Yeah.
a path to literacy, right? And a
Similar
job
interests.
in
Yes.
publishing.
Yes. But here we're yeah, we would fight against each other, not dynamic duos here. We're two different two
Yeah,
different
Marvel versus
Marvel and
DC.
DC. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it's funny that, you can have these two young little children in the 80s growing up together with their superhero shirts, not knowing that someday their paths are going to converge when they get older, right?
Or a little bit older, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit older.
Mhm.
So Donnie and I actually met many years ago here at Capstone. Um, so Donnie is a senior editor, and I am a uh, creative director in marketing, but I've also worked on a lot of content here. So he and I work together on a lot of stuff. Donnie, I'll let you describe some of these projects if you would.
Yeah, a lot of these projects, Bob and I concept to get together, or I was the editor on the project and he was the designer. So this is one of our favorites, Max Axiom, super scientist. You might have seen him around the library. So yeah, that's one of the first projects we worked on together.
Hmm. And then,
Do a lot of collaborations with
yep.
DC Comics and Warner Brothers licensees. We do picture books and chapter books, and yeah, a lot of these books we worked on together as a editor designer team.
Hmm. We worked together on the Super Pet series. And like I said, we're foodies, so we got the opportunity to do a ballpark cookbook with Sports Illustrated. So that was kind of a dream project for the two of us.
Lots of research went into that.
A lot of research, yes. But as people grow older, some choose to have families. And so around the same time, Donnie and I had our first children, and that kind of changed our perspective in the types of books that we were creating for readers. Now we were wanting to create fun, younger books for our own children. And so we created our own partnership called Lemke and Lentz. So maybe not as famous as George and Harold, but we're really working on
Getting
it.
there, yeah.
And so I'll let Donnie talk about this one because this was really kind of his brainchild, our first project together, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about how that one came about.
Yeah, so like Bob said, it was that we had children that were very young and we were reading to them and interacting with books. And we really wanted books that were fun for us and also that we could interact with our kids with. So what better than Book of Beards? And at the time, mustaches and beards were all the rage and, still are. But
Mm.
so we came up with this Book of Beards that kids could throw on their face and take pictures of and share with their friends and family. So just felt like a natural fit for both of us.
Yep, and I remember when Donnie created this idea, and he just had this piece of paper with a Santa beard on it, and that was kind of the inspiration for this book series. And it actually ended up being very popular on social media for a while too. People really latched on to the selfie capabilities of this book and took a lot of selfies and shared a lot of really cool photos on social media. So it was really cool to see that participation. And then of course, kids start to get older and they have to like learn how to go potty by themselves and like not throw food around at the dinner table. And so we created this series called Basic Training, which at the time, actually, two of our daughters were learning how to go to the bathroom actively. So it was really we had some good focus groups while we were making Call of Duty, and then a couple of years later, a few good manners when our kids were starting to eat at the dinner table and not be spoon fed. So that was really really a fun project as well.
Yeah, and these are both of these are kind of those fun father first type of projects that we really wanted to use our own like personal experiences in them. So it was just kind
Mhm.
of following the natural progression of our kids as well.
Yep. And so, not long after A Few Good Manners came out is when the pandemic hit. And so, this is how Donnie and I worked for the next 5 years together. So, we really only saw each other via Zoom. So, this was one of our Zoom meetings back in probably 2020 or 2021. I've never had a beard that big in my life, but we were all kind of trapped inside our house. And so, I didn't even need a book of beards because I had a huge beard myself. But this is kind of how we interacted for many years and didn't really work on any projects until we kind of came back to work. And then by this point, our kids are older now. They're all starting either kindergarten or later in elementary school. And so we wanted to kind of create something that was a little bit older and kind of spoke to the creative process of making a book. And there's several books that you might recognize here that kind of talk about how to read a book or how this book was made, or actually being in a book physically. But there wasn't really a book that talked about the process that an author and an illustrator go through to create a story together and kind of the conflict that can arise from that. And so that was sort of the inspiration for us to get back together as a duo, as Lemke and Lentz, to create author versus illustrator.
Yeah, and my young kids were asking at this time about what we do for careers and like who's this Bob fella that you keep talking about. So I just have to show them this book and I say, yeah, this is what we do,
Yeah, this is what we do. We make picture books and talk about food.
Yeah.
So with that, we would love to read the story to you. So we will throw it up on the screen here, and we hope you enjoy.
Author versus illustrator. Words by Donald Lemke.
Pictures by Bob Lentz.
Bob, where have you been?
Sorry, Don. I had to pick up a few supplies for today
You mean that chili dog, don't you?
with extra onions and jalapenos, of course.
These readers want to see how we make a book, not see you eat a chili dog.
Well, like a book, this chili dog is made up of many parts. Chili, cheese, bun, all beef hot dog. Point is, everything works together, like how you write a story and I draw the pictures.
Wow, that's deep.
And delicious.
You know something, Bob? In a strange thinking with your stomach sort of way, you might be right. And if anything, all this food talk has given me a tasty idea for our next book.
Nice. Let's hear it, partner.
Okay, so long, long ago, high up on a mountaintop, a sugary sweet little city called Sprinkletown awakened to a legendary beast rising from a crack in the earth.
Ooh, something like this?
Yes, the beast's long, sharp fangs dripped with furious hunger. Ready to attack the city, it let out a monstrous roar.
Roar.
Hold up. What's that?
The hungry beast?
That's how you decided to illustrate the beast?
Yep, isn't it scrumptious? Look at those witty bitty claws.
Okay, sure. But he's just so, well, cute. Could you make him like, I don't know, meaner, bigger, a little hungrier maybe?
Sure thing, pal. You're the author after all. How's that look?
Ooh, much better.
Okay, bud. What happens next?
Then, from up in the sky, far above the city, a figure emerges like a rocket. A powerful voice declares, "Have no fear, Sprinkle Towners. It is I, Captain Sprinkle, ready to save you from the now accurately ferocious beast." Sorry, but I'm gonna have to stop again. Who is that?
Duh, Captain Sprinkle. Ever heard of him?
Of course I've heard of him. I'm the author, remember? But why is he so puny? I imagine him looking a little more like, me.
He does, doesn't he?
Whatever. Just make him more heroic, okay? These readers are going to want someone stronger, beefier.
You got it, boss. 100% grade A beef coming up.
Ooh, not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, back to the story. The people of Sprinkletown cheered on the exceptionally well-built hero, angering the beast even more. The hungry, totally not cute beast let out a brutal
Burp.
ha, yes. Fiery jalapenos exploded from his mouth. They shot toward Captain Sprinkle like stinkified comets. But our substantially beefy superhero was not worried. With the click of a button, he unlocked his signature weapon. No enemy could defeat Captain Sprinkle and his trusty ice cream cone?
A soft serve twist cone, to be exact.
Dude, what? How is Captain Sprinkle going to defeat the beast with a soft serve twist cone?
I don't know. Brain freeze? I got inspired.
No, you got dessert, didn't you? Never mind that. Just give him something powerful, something mighty, like a laser blaster or a sword or a.
Okay, okay. Say no more. How about this?
No,
This?
nah.
Surely this.
That's still just ice cream in sandwich form. Something mightier.
This.
A pen? Seriously? That's the mightiest thing you could draw?
It's mightier than the sword, my friend. You should know that.
From now on, just draw what I tell you, okay?
But this is a picture book, and I illustrate the pictures. Shouldn't I have some say around here?
Yeah, but I'm the author. This is my story.
Not anymore.
Who is that?
It's me. I mean, it is I, Sir Swirls a lot, to help save the day. Beefy, aren't I?
More like a bunch of baloney, if you ask me.
But two heroes are better than one, aren't they?
Okay, you want to be part of this story so badly? Let's write you into it, shall we? Unfortunately, just before Captain Sprinkle could pull out his signature weapon and defeat the hungry beast and save untold gazillions of innocent Sprinkletowners, the no good, very bad, not at all cool Sir Swirls-a-Lot showed up wearing a totally fake padded superhero costume he bought at Fake Muscle Suits R Us.
Hey, that's not fair. I'm just trying to help.
Sorry, but I've got the power of the pen, remember?
Well, then perhaps you've forgotten. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Looks like I've painted you into a bit of a corner there, haven't I?
Ah, you drew your own superhero team?
Yep, I call them the Sunday Squadron.
Okay, that's enough. Step aside. I'm illustrating this book now, thank you. And with one hand tied behind his back, Captain Sprinkle quickly defeated Sir Swirls-a-Lot.
What's that supposed to be?
It's Captain Sprinkle taking down your silly Sir Swirls-a-Lot.
It looks more like a goat riding a tricycle to me.
Forget it. Sorry, reader, but this book won't have any pictures after all. Suddenly, a terrible, completely unexpected snowstorm covered the mountaintop. Nothing but whiteness could be seen. Luckily, Captain Sprinkle, being a far superior superhero, easily navigated through the blinding snow. With one hand tied behind his back, Captain Sprinkle quickly defeated Sir Swirls-a-Lot, taking him straight to Sprinkletown Jail. The end.
A book with no pictures? Ha, that'll never work.
Okay, fine. You can draw again, as long as you do the story my way this time.
Okay, you asked for it.
Ah, what's that?
Did you forget about the story's real villain, the Beast? I drew him just like you told me to. Meaner, bigger, and much, much hungrier.
Stop. Now he's way too mean and big and hungry. How am I mean Captain Sprinkle, supposed to take on that thing all alone? Hey, are you eating again? Stop that.
What? All this drawing and fighting has made me hungry.
Wait a second. The solution has been Right here, right there all along.
I've been trying to tell you the whole time.
Sorry, man. You're right. I should have listened to your ideas from the get-go.
I'm glad we're finally on the same page. Still friends?
Friends.
Captain Sprinkle and Sir Swirls a Lot combo platter.
With the fate of Sprinkletown in their beefy hands, Captain Sprinkle and Sir Swirlslot and the Sunday Squadron teamed up to stop the hungry beast, exploiting its one weakness. Hunger.
He was just hungry like us.
And so our two brawny heroes worked together to save the citizens of the newly named Sprinkles-a-Lot Springs and created the happiest of endings.
The end. So, how do you like your signature weapon now?
Delicious.
You know, I was thinking, what should we name the beast?
I'll leave that up to you, my friend.
How about Bob?
On second thought, why don't you leave the writing to me?
Okay, Captain Sprinkle. And that is the end. That's the actual end. Actually, when we read this book to like groups of kids at a school or a library, this book actually has three different endings. So
Yeah.
that's the actual ending of the book. So hope you enjoyed the story. And before we close, we're just going to go through a little bit of behind the scenes about how we created some of the characters in the book. And then we will talk a little bit about the activity pack that we have, and then we will open it up for questions. So, um, creating the characters for this book was actually really interesting. And especially creating not only what we would look like as our creator selves, but also as our superhero selves. And then how that would kind of roll out and then narrate the story. So these were just some early sketches that we worked on. I think this was an early version of Captain Sprinkle right here. And then, of course, the Beast. We explored different, sort of Pixar-esque characters. For a time, we kind of explored this idea that Donnie was a laptop and I was a watercolor palette. So just different explorations, just getting a lot of ideas out on paper, so to speak, just to kind of get the feel. Then we got down to characters that were a little bit more like us, like kind of an adult, kind of cartoony version. But I think, Donnie, we still thought that these were maybe a little bit too old, right?
Yeah, I think we're still trying to find the connection to us, but make it kind of universal to all kids that are working together. We didn't want it to look like we were adults. We wanted the kids that are reading this book or getting this book read to them to feel like they could be put in that spot too. And they're making stories and illustrating stories themselves. So we wanted them to feel like it was kind of like a young, young kid team doing this.
Yes, yes, yeah, like George and Harold, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we kind of leveled it down. I always kind of feel like this was sort of the where we kind of got into that Muppet phase where they don't like have a nose, sort of like this kind of young bobblehead sort of style of us. And this is kind of where we ended up landing. This is kind of close to final. And then we started to kind of decided to work out the color palettes. Um, I always tell people that when I go out in the sun, I'm a pretty pale person generally. If I go out in the sun, I don't tan, I pink. So that's my skin tone there. After being out in the sun in Minnesota in the summer, it's pretty hot here right now. And then of course this is the final that you see in the book. So it was kind of a fun exploration. But the harder character in the book was the Beast. And I remember vividly a lot of the conversations that Donnie and I had about the Beast character, even just like writing about it and like figuring out what it was. And just kind of going back and forth. These are just a few of the thumbnail sketches, but just kind of going through again pop culture and looking for inspiration. Like little dragon characters like Spike from My Little Pony or the Rancor monster from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and this is a lot of where like the collaboration between the author and illustrator comes in, and we have an activity, and the activity pack we have is that to have somebody draw a monster, ask a friend to draw a monster, and then or ask another friend to draw a monster, and they'll both be different monsters. So in the manuscript, I would say monster, but that could really be anything. So there's a lot of conversations to have around what the monster looked like, what did that mean? So
Mhm. Yep. And when it's so open-ended, you can be totally creative. So when we do this activity with kids in schools and libraries, we say just do whatever you feel. Like what do you think a monster is, and base it off of something in your life or one of your interests, and it's amazing what kids will come up with when they're given that much freedom creatively. We even looked at like the Cyclops from Greek mythology or Godzilla, obviously King of the Monsters. But again, a lot of these have been done. And so one day, yeah, in my bio at the beginning, she mentioned that we have a very hungry Boston Terrier. And so this is my dog. His name is Huey Lewis. He is about 5 years old, and he is always extremely hungry, and he's very naughty. And he comes down to my office every day, and he likes to beg for my snacks, whatever I mean, whether it's a granola bar or a yogurt cup, like he wants in. So he comes in and he usually jumps up, and I've since taught him how to sit and kind of wait for his little treat. But this is a few years ago when he was still very much a puppy. And this was kind of when I was in the throes of trying to figure out the Beast character. And we were kind of getting down to deadline on the book, and we had to figure out what this Beast character was going to look like. And at the moment, you can see on my screen, I'm physically working on sketches for the Beast. And he came in, and I kind of looked at him, and I looked back at the screen, and I'm like, this guy is always very hungry, and he's always kind of naughty and pretty destructive. He's kind of a little bit of a beast himself. And I kind of took that and ran with it. To create the Little Beast character. So this is what Huey looks like when he's a good dog. But of course, when he's a bad dog, he becomes the giant beast. And especially when he's hungry and overtired, he definitely becomes the big red beast version. So I always, tell kids who are trying to come up with an idea, be on the lookout for inspiration whenever it hits, because when it strikes, you have to be ready. And I think that resulted in a pretty cool character for the story. So
and that's also we talk a little bit about it here, and I guess we can just read through this, Bob, if you want. But this is a page in the back matter that shows a little bit about the inspiration. So I'll just start.
yeah.
See, in a way, a book is a lot like a chili dog. When the parts come together, it's totally worth the indigestion.
Hey, didn't I say that at the beginning?
Ideas come from everywhere, Bob.
He's right. We may get ideas from our favorite things like superheroes and food, especially ice cream.
Once you have an idea, don't be afraid to get started. Remember, you don't have to do it all alone. Team up.
Yeah, there's always room for one more. Speaking of seconds, I think this is a little out of order with the story, but this is yeah, this is kind of the at the end of the book we have this spread to kind of illustrate again how we came about. You can see the Lemke and Lentz logo on the screen there, and Book of Beards is up on the shelf. And then just a few photos that sort of illustrate our real life friendship. And so that leads me to this photo here. So Donnie, I'll let you take this one because you're the one that introduced me to Cup and Cone.
Yeah, Cup and Cone is just a local ice cream spot, and Bob and I came up with this annual meet and greet at the spot with our families, and we get a picture pretty much every year. So I don't know, we haven't done it yet this year, but it's getting close to the end of summer, so we gotta schedule something. But
Yeah, we got to make it happen.
But yeah, this is another place where like the inspiration for some of the weapons and the hunger of the monster came in. We just tried to add as much of our own personal lives into the book as we could.
hmm And a soft serve twist cone is definitely Cup and Cone's specialty. And so a lot of the individual menu items from this establishment are kind of woven throughout the book. And um, so this picture was taken a few years ago. Our kids are a little older now and they're really busy. So it is harder to get together and to do this tradition. And so when we do make it happen, it's pretty special. And actually, our wives appear in the Sunday Squadron. So this is Amy and this is my wife Rosalie. And actually our kids are in another page of the book too. So it's kind of fun, like to be able to sprinkle your loved ones and your friends into books as well. And actually, I think we have a few coworkers in here too. So again, inspiration strikes in a lot of different ways. And so it's really fun to be able to do that and add that to your story.
Yeah, and even in these far out stories, these stories that take place in fantastical lands, you can really still just integrate yourself into them. And that's kind of what separates, now the human-made books from the computer-made books. It's the people that make them. So we wanted to
Mhm.
do that in this story.
Yep. So yeah, a lot of personal touches to this book that people may not realize. And so, in closing, again, I think this may have already been provided to some of you, but this is our activity kit that accompanies the book. It's got coloring sheets, it's got writing activities and drawing activities, like the one Donnie mentioned, where we ask you to draw your own monster. What would that look like? And so that is all within this activity pack. And in case you have not received it, you can access it via this QR code or by this bit.ly link, and you can download it immediately. It's a really great tool. We've had a lot of good feedback about how, librarians are sort of working this into their storytime events and into their lessons. And so we hope you find it valuable. And with that, we will open it up to questions if you have any. We'd love to answer
You
them.
got to read it. You got to be like, questions?
Oh yeah, please ask. Yes, we have to read our word balloons every time.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. I have a question while we wait to see if we have any questions in the chat. I'm a big ice cream person myself, so I love the ice cream in the book. But I was just
Yes.
wondering if you have like a go-to, if the swirl is your go-to order, or if you have as your character like that, or if you have a go-to order yourself there.
Oh,
Well, my go-to order is a crunch cone. So yeah, vanilla cone with crunch on it is the best.
yeah, that's so are we asking like our favorite order at Cup and Cone or at any ice cream place?
That's up to your interpretation.
Oh
So
man.
I'm not, we're not, we don't have cup cone out here. So I'm curious about
Oh,
the regional specificity, but also any ice cream.
yes. No, I would have to agree with Donnie. At Cup and Cone, it's definitely the crunch cone. When I was growing up, I grew up in a small town, but we had a Dairy Queen and they had a crunch cone machine there, and that was just the best. But if I'm gonna eat any ice cream, I'm a big black licorice fan, and we have black licorice ice cream here. I don't know if that's a thing in
Wow.
Connecticut, but man, it's good.
That's an offbeat choice. I'm
I
gonna have
know,
to
right?
find that. I'm gonna have to see if I can find that.
I get that a
My
lot.
DQ order is chocolate cone chocolate dip. So that's my DQ
Mm.
order. All right. We do have a question here. Are we going to see more of the Bob and Don characters? This feels like their adventure could be a series.
Oh boy.
We talked about it. I mean, we kind of had these different ideas about author versus illustrator versus their editor, or author versus illustrator versus AI, these different storylines. So we've been talking about it, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
we would love to bring them back, and we've talked about even like a different kind of series or whatever. But yeah, this is definitely an origin story, so we could take it in many different ways from here. So yeah, that's a
Oh,
great question.
we're very excited.
Stay
Um,
tuned.
yeah, we'll definitely be staying tuned for that. Can you share about how your creative collaboration works differently when working with a licensed partner versus creating from scratch, so to speak?
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah.
Donnie.
Just a lot more comments. That's
Yeah.
the thing. The more people you introduce, the more comments and things that you get. So yeah, when we've worked with licensors, we've always had really good relationships with our licensors, and we'll share manuscripts with them and share illustrations and sketches with them, and they have similar feedback to kind of what an editor would have, but more based around like this is correct for the character, or this has already been done in a storyline in the past. So they kind of have that expertise of their different licenses. So
Yeah, and I loved working with with DC Comics especially, and they're trying to uphold these brands that have been around for 80, 90 years, like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, like just these esteemed brands. And so they're very careful about their characters. Like, they're very adamant that Batman would never use a gun. And Superman, while yes, he's an alien, he still has to wear a spacesuit in space. Like different, like they have different rules and things to protect the legacy of their characters. And so it's a really cool lesson in branding too, to understand how they work with these characters that have so many years of legacy behind them. So just really, really kind of a fun project whenever we're working with DC for sure.
and writing for them is a lot different. You can't just go anywhere. It's almost like writing like nonfiction or narrative nonfiction where you have to draw from the past. You have to draw from these things that are already established. So yeah, it's a much different beast.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cool challenge, though.
Yeah.
hmm
Um, so we saw a little bit of this in the story, but do you ever reverse roles as author and illustrator?
I I
Not
always
really.
yeah no no
Yeah,
I
I mean
always say
that's
that
pretty
I'm
much
not
how
much
I
of a
would draw
writer.
what you saw in that book. But sometimes like if there's an idea that I can't express, you know, on paper or in words to Bob, like if I have an image in mind that I would like him to put together on a page, I might draw a little doodle or something just to show him what it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, nothing finalized for sure.
No, or we exchange ideas versus via, like send each other a link to a web page where we can see like, oh, this is kind of what I'm thinking, or a picture or something that is an inspiration. But yeah, I always tell people that I don't fancy myself much of a writer. So I love to collaborate. And Donnie's such a great writer and editor, and I think we really kind of complement each other well. And so that's one of the kind of main themes of this book too, is to find that partnership, find that person who um, kind of excels at the things you don't, and team up and become basically a superhero team of your own. So
Awesome. I'm sorry, Barbara, I missed that your hand was up. Feel free to hop on.
No worries. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I have two questions. I noticed in the picture with your very cute dog, Bob, that you had a iPad or tablet in front of you, and that's where your drawing was working. So I'm just curious how the two of you are you the technology you're using and how you collaborate to create these stories. Do you start with like pen and paper, old traditional, and move to like other things, or do you start right in the virtual space and how do you collaborate that way?
oh, that's a great question, Barbara. Donnie, do you want to start from the editorial side and the script? And
Yeah, I mean, I've done away with pen and paper for a while. I can't
Yeah,
read my
right.
handwriting, my own handwriting anymore. So, but yeah, I'll start on just a blank page in a Word document, and yeah, that's the best way for me, and then and sometimes we'll use like a Google Doc or something and go back and forth
Mm,
on it.
mhm,
But yeah, in terms of like scripting, I'll script it out and add little like scene descriptions for Bob to kind of follow and expand on. And
Mhm.
so, but I know he does some work on paper still.
mm,
Yeah, and it's actually really limited nowadays. I do start with really small thumbnails, so I'll do like a page that's only an inch high, and just to get the rough composition down. And so
mm,
I'll do hundreds of those little thumbnail sketches just to kind of get the whole composition of each spread. And then from there, I'll take them into Photoshop, which is where I illustrated this book,
Mm.
and kind of enlarge those thumbnails, sketch over them, pencil over them, and then finally do the dark lines and then the color. But yeah, I like to do like traditional watercolor at home just as a hobby. And even to this day, my parents are like, I can't believe you do so much artwork in the computer, but like these are the modern tools that we have,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So yeah, still try to do a little sketching, but yeah, just to stay in the physical world.
Mm. The other question I had was, since you're very inspired by your children and their trajectory of growing up, do you think you might dip your toes into YA eventually when they go that way, or like graphic novels or something like around those lines?
We talked about something a little bit longer, maybe some like chapter books or
Mm,
some illustrated books like Last Kids on Earth type style where there's a lot more illustrations.
Hmm.
And that'd be a really fun collaboration, I think. It's just
mm.
it takes a long time too.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it just seems like
Yeah.
it's a medium the kids that eventually become young, a little older, really
Yeah.
enjoy. So,
Yeah, my daughter, the one that was in that picture, is 13 now, so she's
there you
she's at
go.
that age.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
my kids love graphic novels too. They're obsessed with them. They're now 14 and 11,
Mm,
and they just can't get enough. And so we're just constantly bringing home stacks from the library. And
yeah.
my daughter's favorite author, illustrator of all time is Raina Telgemeier. And so
Oh, yeah.
and she actually got to meet her this summer. And she's probably read Smile
Mm.
50 times, and she just got braces a couple of years ago too. So she's like, that was like really inspiring to her. So I
Oh,
like
cool.
those kind of personal memoirs. I think my kids really resonate with them.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
those are always so
I
popular.
think author and illustrator would be great, in a graphic novel even too, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Amy said choose your own adventure too. That would be
Oh
exciting.
yeah.
Oh,
And then,
That'd be good.
another question from Kim. Who are your favorite superheroes or superhero team? She is an X-Men girl herself.
oh, yes.
I
Oh,
know that's one of Bob's faves too.
I love
I
X-Men.
mean, I'm a Batman kid, but
Mhm.
also, yeah, I grew up, in the 80s, 90s, so X-Men was huge back then.
Yeah,
X-Men 97 was great. Yeah.
yeah, those when the animated series came out in the 90s, the original one,
Mm.
I mean, that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. I didn't think I would see anything better than that. I had no idea that all the Marvel movies were coming, 10 years later. But when that X-Men cartoon came out in the 90s, that was like all my dreams were coming true. But I would say I always answer this question by saying that my favorite Marvel superhero is Spider-Man and my favorite DC superhero is Superman. And that's mostly because of the movie, the Christopher Reeve movie that came out when I was a kid. That was life-changing for me. So I don't know, I must like red and blue superheroes because
There you
there's
go.
a theme there, right?
He likes the more mythological superheroes, and I'm more of like the grounded like person that does everything with their billions of dollars and invents things.
Right, that's fair. That's totally fair. You like those industrialists like Bruce
Yes.
Wayne and Tony Stark, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other questions in the chat before we go on with our afternoons here? Give it a minute. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you and hear about the behind the scenes and to get to hear the story and to inspire our Connecticut story project, summer story project authors and illustrators, and maybe again for future endeavors as well. So thank you so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Much
This was
appreciated.
wonderful. Thank you for all the great questions too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.